Hello, everyone. Welcome to Female Marketing Leaders in Franchising. I'm super excited that Promo Republic asked me to moderate this because they're basically, all these women are who I want to be when I grow up. And also, I'm just going to claim them as my besties. So every time we go to a conference, we've got friends. So we've got Ziebart, Unleashed Brands. I'm with Threshold and NetSertive, MassageLuXe, and Camp Bow Wow, and we will go ahead and get started. First up is myself. So my name is Madeline, and I work at NetSertive as the Director of Marketing. NetSertive's digital marketing agency for franchisees and franchisors. I'm also a multi-unit, multi-brand owner. So I own 4 brands in the greater Philadelphia area, and we've got about 20 locations. And then previous to both of those roles, I was the director of marketing at Threshold Brands, which are the locations I now own, and did everything from, Fran Dev with hands in employment and consumer. So really be able to understand from supplier to franchisee to franchisor, what's going on, and be able to cut through some of the BS and tell you guys what you need to know. But moving on to the more important people, we've got Larisa here from Ziebart. Larisa, hi, I'll let you kind of give your background.
Hey guys, Larisa Walega. I'm with Ziebart International Corporation. We're an automotive appearance and protection brand, #1 in our category. We have 400 locations and 1,200 processing centers in over 35 countries. In 2024, it'll be our 65th year in business. We are one of the founding members of franchising, to be honest with you. I always love talking about how when you look at the age of some of the franchise systems of the International Franchise Association, we're number like 87. So it's pretty cool to be one of the top 100 and be around. We're very prideful of our legacy. I lead marketing for all business verticals of the company, and I'm really excited to be on this panel with all of these amazing women. I'm very starstruck still. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Larisa. And I think Larisa is a great contact to know, because basically she's probably been in everyone's shoes. So if you have an issue, she's probably seen it and overcome it with being such a longstanding franchise. So we're super excited to have her. Next, we got my girl, Abby, who I'm sure you've seen all over LinkedIn. She's with Unleashed Brands and making some big moves. So Abby, welcome.
Thanks, Maddie. I hope that's a compliment.
Yes.
Welcome. Happy to have everyone here on the webinar. Thanks for joining us. Again, I'm honored to be alongside these female leaders in franchising. I am the VP of Marketing and Brand Relations at Unleashed Brands. Unleashed Brands is a youth enrichment platform company serving children and families. We are focused on brands that help children learn, play, and grow. We currently have 6 brands in our portfolio: Urban Air Adventure Park, Snapology, The Little Gym, Premier Martial Arts, XT League, and Class 101. We are rapidly growing, as Maddie mentioned. It's a really exciting time to be a part of the brand. And we currently have 1,300 units operating or in development.
Thanks, Abby. Yeah, and quite a mouthful of brands. I know you have to keep remembering to add them. So that's super exciting. And I'm able to moderate this webinar because my kids are currently at Urban Air. So thank you, Abby.
I love it. That's awesome.
Next, we've got Christy, who probably knows everybody in this room's dog's names as well as ours. So Christy, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Christy Barnes, and I am the VP of Marketing at Camp Bow Wow. We are a doggy daycare and boarding franchise. We have over 200 locations in the US and Canada, and all about making sure dogs have an awesome time and are happy and well cared for. And I head up the marketing department, overseeing all of our consumer and Fran Dev marketing efforts. And I've spent my entire career at Camp Bow Wow, so had a lot of positions there and learned a lot of stuff along the way.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. And I think I can speak for all of us, if not at least the dog people, that Christy pretty much has the dream job of working in franchising and with dogs. So that is goals.
That's pretty great, not gonna lie.
Yeah. Lastly, we have Kristen from MassageLuXe. I'm sure you guys seen them opening new stores like every day. I'm like, how do they do it? And Kristen will hopefully be able to tell you. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I have been at MassageLuXe for 2 years now, and I'm the Chief Growth Officer. So I oversee both our consumer marketing as well as franchise growth, which puts me in a little bit of a unique position because I get to play in B2B as well as B2C. I love it. I've been in franchising my whole career, and I've worked on brands as large as 5,000 locations to as little as 5 locations. So some really fun projects and brands that I've worked on in the past. Loving MassageLuXe, massage and facials membership model. We have 70 locations open, and we are aiming for 250 by 2025. So it's going to be a busy couple of years. I look forward to talking with all of you.
Love it. Well, thanks. And without further ado, we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So we'll start, kind of part one. What was your career path? How did you get into franchising? Larisa, I'm going to hand it over to you first, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, how do you get to managing one of the largest, oldest franchises and managing it all?
Yeah, great question. Thank you.
She's like, I don't really know, but here I am.
Well, my answer might, I don't think it's as surprising. A lot of people end up taking this path, especially in marketing. But after I got my degree, which is actually in management with a concentration in performing arts, I had dreams of owning my own performing arts center. I was into dance my whole life, and just something that I wanted to do. I ended up being the marketing coordinator of one of the largest performing arts centers in Michigan for a couple of years, and realized that I loved the aspect of business of marketing specifically. And so fell into a great position at one of the largest advertising agencies in Michigan, Campbell Ewald at the time. Spent some time there, spent some time at Donor, the other larger one at the time, and got so much great experience on the agency side first, of understanding how everything got put together, what makes sense, why certain things happen, how data transforms things. I mean, all of those building blocks started there. And then I was ready for a new opportunity, and I wanted to go just like every marketer on the client side. So I started looking at some opportunities, and Ziebart came about. So from a franchising standpoint, I was fortunate that on my agency side and experience, I did work with some franchise brands, Wyndham Worldwide specifically. Some of them are still some of my greatest friends too, but just kind of fell into franchising. Some people have that same, experience too. So, and I just absolutely love it. Every day is a different challenge, and there's just so much opportunity. So that's a little bit of the story of how I got here.
I love that, because I talk with so many people, and it's always my first question on my podcast. And it's so different from, some people are like, oh, I was born into it. Other people are like, hey, I was going to own a dance studio, and here I am. Also doing the franchising dance. When Threshold Brands first started as Made Pro, and when I got recruited to do their marketing, I got like a LinkedIn from their COO, and I was like, my first response was, I don't want to be a maid. What is this? I'm not cleaning houses, but 10 years later, and here we are. Abby, I want to talk and hear from you on this question too, because you started more single brand, and now you're overseeing many, many brands, and it's continuing to grow. So what is that process like, especially, how it differs in franchising?
Sure. Thanks, Maddie. So I joined the franchise industry in 2015, very much like Larisa, kind of fell into it. Had no idea what franchising was or what I was signing up for when I joined that company. My role there actually started with half franchise development, half marketing, and then later moved into the marketing director role. So got very familiar with the FDD renewal process and things like that on the franchise side, which actually helped me learn so much about franchising, starting in the franchise development department and then going full into marketing. My degree is in marketing. I worked at a marketing agency before coming into franchising in 2015. But I was working for a youth enrichment company, and I loved it. Loved promoting the singular brand, did both consumer marketing, franchise development marketing, and then helped support franchisees grow their businesses. From there, I actually joined the franchise broker industry for a little bit and worked at FriendNet doing corporate marketing and supporting their consultants with their marketing efforts. And then joined Unleash Brands in December of 2001, which has been amazing. We are experiencing a lot of growth, adding new brands. We just added 2 new brands to our portfolio in April of this year. And so it has been, a change going from marketing for a singular brand to working for a platform company, especially one that's rapidly growing. So part of my role is also marketing, the platform company Unleash Brands as a whole, and building that brand awareness, building that authority for our brand out there, building that trust with the consumer. My role now specifically oversees franchise development marketing. So working with our recruiters to ensure that we're bringing quality leads and quality candidates. We're actually right now in the midst of a combined discovery day in our office in Bedford, Texas. So we've got candidates here from Urban Air Adventure Park, as well as the Little Gym. And so overseeing those franchise development efforts for all of the brands, their content plans and things like that. And then also an interesting part of my role is I also help with the mergers and acquisition side of things. So I spend a lot of time talking with founders and team members of franchise companies in the youth enrichment space, learning their stories, their goals for their brands, telling them about Unleashed. And so I think part of what we'll talk about today is how people got where they are. And it might not always be a linear journey. And for me, it certainly hasn't, been one nicely neat career to the other. And so that's also been super interesting and fulfilling for me as well.
I love that. And I always want to call out that, a lot of times people are like, oh, I work on Fran Dev or I work with consumer. Well, they work hand in hand, especially if you're on the brand side and, going down that while you're selling new candidates, they're all going to want to know how your franchisees are doing. So I always say, if you want to know marketing, talk to a franchise marketer, because as I'm sure many people also on this call understand, within 10 minutes of a meeting, we can go from employment marketing for Waco, Texas, all the way to, hey, how do we sell this umbrella brand in Europe? So I think that there's a lot of, tools and knowledge that comes around franchise marketing that, relates to a lot of different parts of marketing.
For sure.
We'll go into our next question. And Christy, I want to lead with you is, what does it mean to be a leader in the workplace? And, how do you become one? Because you're managing this very quickly growing brand. You're in such a great industry, an industry that I'm sure many people aspire to be in. So, what are your thoughts around that?
I think you don't have to necessarily be a people leader to be a leader. And I think that's something that I've learned over my career. And I started out as an intern at Camp Bow Wow, worked my way up through the organization, slowly getting, direct reports and then building out the full structure of my team. But, you can take on leadership opportunities without managing people ever, or, if that's something that you want in the future of your career, then you can take steps towards that by managing a project or managing a committee or something like that. I think it really all just comes down to the qualities that you bring to work every day, being trustworthy, having integrity, caring about other people, making sure that others' needs are met, that they're happy, that they have everything that they are looking for in their position or with franchising, making sure franchise owners have what they need to be successful. So it's really more about the mindset and those values that you exhibit on a day-to-day basis versus actually managing the people.
I like that because I'm like super type A and I would be a nightmare to work for because I'm just all over the place, like so task oriented that they'd be like, oh my God, I got to get out of here. But other ways to lead, which I think is a good thing to call out. And then how do you think that translates into your franchise being a leader in the space? Is it individuals that make the brand, or is it bringing in individuals that fit the brand?
It's probably a combination of the two. When you first start as a franchise brand, you're really looking for anybody and everybody, anybody who, has the desire and the means in order to join the business. But as you grow, you can get a little bit more specific on who's going to be, the best representative of your brand. We're dealing with people's furry children. People are very, very passionate about their pets. So we want to make sure that we're only, bringing on the best of the best people who are going to take care of those pets as if they were their own. So it's really, starting with the team, starting with your processes, your procedures, all of that, to make sure that you have a really great product or service that you're bringing to the market, and people recognize that, and you're going to be recognized for that ultimately.
I love that. And Kristen, I want to hear from you on this, because especially you are in such a people-oriented business, especially with, the health and wellness. What does this kind of question mean to you guys?
Yeah, Christy mentioned something that actually is kind of like my internal motto, which is that mindset is everything. The difference between a successful franchisee and an unsuccessful franchisee, according to me, mindset. The difference between a leader and a follower, mindset. And I think we've all struggled as leaders or just people in their jobs with a project or a decision or something that's come across our desk in which we're like, am I really qualified to make this decision? Am I really qualified to take this job? Do I really know the answer here? And for so long, I was stressed about not knowing. And now I'm like, no, you know what? Even if you don't know, you try. You never go into a football game expecting to lose. You always go into a football game expecting to win. And that's really how I believe I've had success in leadership, is just always expecting that no matter what, things are going to work out, and that my mindset's in the right place, and that it's okay if I stood up a strategy that doesn't work, or if I made a decision that backfires, because my intent and my mindset was in the right place. And if it doesn't work out perfectly, that's okay. We're going to learn from it and we're going to move on. I think the thing that we often forget is that there's no perfect how-to guide, especially in marketing, on how to be successful. There's no perfect how-to guide in franchising. Everybody's situation and perception is different. And it's okay that you don't have all of the answers, as long as you're using data and insight in order to form your decisions. You're going to be okay. And that's how a leader flourishes. It's the people who can take the chances in business that end up in those leadership roles.
And I think that's such a good point too, that there's no perfect plan, because I think for franchisees, they come in, or the current franchisees, and they're thinking the franchisor has it all figured out. This is why I signed on. And the franchisor is like, no, work with me to figure it out. Especially those that might not have a ton of corporate stores, we're relying on the franchisees. So remembering that while a franchise is, a great stepping stone for business, it's more of a community rather than just, a roadmap. So, remembering that and keeping, the hierarchy kind of lateral, because I've seen it, very vertical. And I think the more that people can collaborate and be leaders within a community, and to Christy's point, whether it's with people, whether it's with systems and processes, that's how the success comes, from the people, not from, what's written on a piece of paper. So this is outstanding. I'm just going to keep on going. So how to build and scale high performance marketing team for a franchise brand. Larisa, take it away, my friend. How do you continue making your empire work and evolve without losing the essence of your brand, and also, keeping up with the demand that your franchise has?
I think this is one of the most harder questions to answer, especially given the culture that we're currently in.
Yes.
But I will do my best to answer it. I think when I stepped into this position, actually, when I started at the company, I started as a field marketing manager, and it was me and a graphic designer and a marketing leader. Mm-hmm. So fast forward 13 years in July, and our team is 10. That happened over that time period. And a lot of that planning had to do with going back to the objectives and the goals of the company, and then specifically drilling it down to the goals of marketing. We went through a brand relaunch about 5 years ago, and part of that relaunch was developing, a very solid customer journey. And after that was developed, I really began to build the marketing team after that. And I built it based on the needs of the journey and where our company was and our brand was. So there's not, like we keep saying, there's not a one size fits all for everybody, but whether I think you're an emerging brand, having those basics of what you need, and that really is based on your brand too. Are you outsourcing or insourcing certain roles within your department? Is creative important for you to have that at your brand? Is what's your support look like for the number of units you have from a field marketing standpoint? And then how does digital play a role in that too? And who's leading that? So there really is no one size fits all, but I will say that whether you're emerging or whether you're going to be 65 in 2024, it really just depends. It goes back to the goals of your business and the goals of what marketing needs to do to achieve those goals.
I love that because I think, especially for emerging brands or mid-size, the question is always, well, how big is your team? And I really hate that question because you could have team members that can produce tenfold, and then you could have a team of 30 that's producing the same amount. And also with bringing on suppliers or there's going to be differences in what your franchise needs at the time. So what once was in-house might be outsourced and vice versa. So to your point, analyzing what is the most important to you and your team and your franchisees at that time, and then scaling that way. Christy, I'd love to hear from you because now you're leading the team that you were once an intern for. So what did that process look like over time? And has the team grown? Is it the same size? And clearly you guys have been promoting from within. So is that something that is common for Camp Bow Wow?
Yeah, so when I started, I was the intern and there were 2 other people on the marketing team and we were under the tech team. So we didn't even have our own vertical in the company. We were lumped into tech and then we were moved over to operations. And finally, we became our own individual department and grew from there and started to build out the team. And now there are 7 of us on the team. So definitely have grown and tried to balance, the internal versus external, support and making sure you have the right vendor partners in place. And we do try to, promote from within wherever we can, getting people, the skills, the experience that they need to grow in their career. I've had 2 people on my team who've been able to be promoted just in the past year into leadership roles within the team. So that's been really exciting. So definitely, you want to find the right people and ensure that you are helping them achieve success and helping them achieve that growth that they're looking for. Because if they don't find it with you, they're going to go elsewhere.
I think that's a great point too, where I think naturally as good leaders and good organizations, you want to give your employees the room to grow. But I think with the franchise, it's also important to note that that's what we want our franchisees to do for their employees. So I have a home services and people start out as maids or pros, but we want to give them the opportunity to go into management and, potentially other higher education and stuff like that. So being able to do that at the top level is a great place to have it trickle down. I know Larisa sees it tenfold in her industry as well. So that's super important. And then Abby, real quick, I want to get to you because I've been in your shoes and you went from, a couple brands to now it's going to be a gajillion brands. How are you managing that? Because each brand needs its own marketing team but it's also on you for Fran Dep. So what does Unleash do to make sure you're not burning out your employees, but also providing the support that all of these brands need?
Yeah, and gazillion is definitely the definitive goal for us,
Yes,
just so everyone knows
gazillion.
that was extremely accurate. So that is the goal for Unleashed Brands, is the gazillion brands under our portfolio. So I love that. Yeah, it's really interesting. Our team is growing rapidly to keep up with the growth of bringing new brands on. And so there are several different departments here that are growing. We have a department dedicated to brand integration. I know we're talking marketing here specifically, but as we bring on those new brands, we might need new departments to support those brands. And so building out our brand integration team has been great. Building our marketing team has been great as well. And so, we've been looking at as far as keeping things in-house and, outsourcing things. And as you bring on these new brands, supporting all of those new brands is a different challenge to figure out what you do outsource and what you keep in-house. And so part of our strategy at Unleashed Brands is we have shared services that we take on for the brands. Franchise development is one of them. Franchise development, legal, HR, several other areas that we support with them as far as technology. But there are things that still live inside the individual brand. Marketing is one that kind of is in both, as far as they still have their VPs of marketing that's running a lot of the day-to-day, overseeing their, field marketing staff, but then rolling up to our CMO who oversees the, strategy as a whole for the platform and those brands in our portfolio. So the shared services, we're always looking to, build out and build our teams there to make sure that we are supporting the brands in our portfolio, to the best of our ability. But then there are things that still stay with that individual brand that they know best, specifically as far as operations, curriculum, and training, that still stays with them. But we are building out, both marketing teams. We're building what I would call like kind of in-house agency on the consumer side to support all of those brands, which are rapidly growing. And then from the franchise development standpoint, we're constantly bringing on new recruiters and adding to our marketing team as well to support those brands that we have.
I love that. And just a big call out to, I know umbrella brands are very popular nowadays, and there is that fine line between, let's use the resources we have because we're in hyper growth mode, but also understanding the needs of your team. Because I've had it both ways where I've just been completely burnt out. And then the other side where I'm like, oh, there's all this help. And now I don't know who any of these people are. So really, keeping a pulse on your team and the needs as they grow and building that into the budget. You really just can't expect your same team to manage multiple brands with the same results over time. So, keeping that realistic as well. And, Kristen, bring us on home. What do you guys do to build this great marketing team? Because I think that the way you have set up your marketing, if you look at MassageLuXe, their franchisees, for the most part, all follow the model. They all have the same branding. What's happening. It's the same promotions. I think they do a great job. So how did you build a team that can not only do that, but also coach to it?
Yeah, so I think for everybody here, you got to find your unicorns, especially in emerging brands, those utility players who can do a lot of different things, right? So it's easy for us to say, well, I want a social media person. But what if you could find a social media person that could also write long form content and also maybe take pictures or some video or put together some quick graphics? You got to be scrappy in a franchise organization because let's face it, we don't have hundreds of marketers who are all very specialized. Additionally, one thing that I'll caution on is for emerging brands, they want to, their first marketing hire typically is a leader in marketing, like a VP of marketing. You got to be a little bit careful about hiring someone who is so entrenched in strategy and has done so much with their career that they're not used to rolling up those sleeves. You have to find leaders who can set the strategy, but then in many cases, push some of that strategy through and actually do the work. And I think that that's most often what I see as an issue in staffing marketing departments today is you get all these high-level leaders who haven't done the groundwork in a while, right? They're 5 years removed from actually putting together a creative brief or talking to a franchisee, and they find themselves with this great divide between the leaders and the workers. And so make sure that when you're staffing your marketing team, you're doing so with that eye and that you need people to actually dig in and get in the weeds along with the team in small organizations. I'm lucky at MassageLuXe because we've got a lot of those people on our marketing team that can play in multiple areas and aren't afraid to go outside of the confines of their job descriptions to get the job done.
I love that. And I think that especially with franchising where it's such an old school industry. And to be honest, not much has changed except with like the way that we can market. It's pretty much the same with the difference of, the people now have to be more agile. So while for the franchise, there is an essence of do what we did last year because it's working. We've got proven processes, but also not getting stuck in only doing what we did last year. I think that that's a very fine line that, franchising definitely has to keep a pulse on because as everyone knows, if you're not growing, you're shrinking. So love all of that advice. And we'll go on to this next question that I'm going to hear from everyone. And Kristen, I'll just let you flow right into this. What advice would you give to women starting their franchising journey? And I should say, anyone, if you want to speak to women too, but I think, this question goes to men as well.
yeah, we're lucky in franchising because we always say like, oh, my franchise fam, but it is a fam. It's a
It really is.
family. Exactly. And so it's okay that you don't know exactly the right path, as I spoke to earlier. It's okay if you get stuck at a crossroads, because not only can you guess with what you have and go forward, but you can shop that idea, that problem, that solution among all the people on this webinar today. What's great about franchising is even if it's your first time tackling something, chances are your franchise fam has already hit that roadblock and is willing to help you. And that doesn't exist in every industry. So my advice to people who are looking to jump into leadership and franchising is use the people around you to help you with that. They want to see you succeed. You give and you take in this industry in a way that's not the same as other industries. And because of that, we all get better together. And I'm positive that if you ask for help 2 years down the line, that person you asked for help will be knocking on your door, asking you for that help back. So it's a little bit of give and take in this. And I'm so thankful for everybody that has kind of helped me, right? And vice versa. And so, yeah, it's a great industry to be a part of. Utilize it.
I agree. And I remember starting off in my Made Pro days, our CEO, or I think our Fran Dev leads were down a couple months. And he was like, well, is this happening to everyone? Why don't you call Molly Made and ask them if it's happening? And I was like, you want me to call our direct competitor and be like, hey, how are your leads? Like not realizing that, no, you can. And they're going to be like, yeah, this is what we're seeing. So yeah, these panels, these webinars, the dinners that we have, anytime you can network, I would say is super valuable. I mean, we had even Neighborly was on one of my roundtables the other day, and they're like, hey, we're having a dip in conversion. Who can help me? An Authority brand stepped in, and which would technically be some of their competitors. And they're like, hey, why don't you try this? So, not being afraid to ask for help, because the franchise fam, we are incestual. we are ready to share. Abby, you next as a powerhouse woman, what would your advice be to people starting out?
Yeah, first of all, great advice from Kristen. Totally agree with that. I would say, all of you are kind of doing what you should already be doing if you're on this webinar, going to events, going to webinars, putting yourself out there, making connections. I've been to, events where I didn't know anyone. Be that person that goes up and introduces yourself, tell them about your brand, tell about what you're doing, your goals for that conference. And so you really have to put yourself out there and network intentionally to meet people. You'll find some awesome people along the way in franchising. And as we've mentioned, it is crazy how willing people are to share in this industry, which is one of the best parts about it. Whether you are a competitor, you're a supplier, you work for a franchisor, everyone is so willing to share. And so if you have a question, ask for it. If you need an introduction to someone, or if you're looking for something, ask for it. And so always, be focused on continually to grow yourself. And I would also say in the terms of growing, especially professionally, don't rely on your employer to grow you professionally. That is your job. They're not going to, they might provide professional opportunities for you, which is amazing, but also seek that out for yourself. If you're a project manager, you want to get your project manager certification, go for it. If you want to do your CFE, go for it. So I would say also, you are in charge of growing yourself professionally, and marketing too. So much is changing, and you can go so many different ways with marketing, whether you want to be a generalist or a specialist, or, either side of the realm there. And so, continually to grow yourself. I'm on, I think, like every single franchising newsletter list, and I'm constantly reading articles, seeing what people are putting out there as far as trends, what's happening, what's working. And so, being in tune to those educational resources is great. And then I'll put one other plug, which I don't know, Larisa, I don't want to steal this from you if you were going to say it, but if you are a women in franchising, please look for your local women's franchise network. A few of us here are on the women's franchise committee for the IFA, and that is a really great resource for you to network with other women in your area as far as virtual events, local in-person events, and then there's some regional roundtables and things like that. So happy to drop a link in here, but look for your local women's franchise network. It's a great resource for you to begin networking and go to events. And there's also a LinkedIn page that you can be apprised of those events as well. But yeah, I would just say be willing to put yourself out there and always be open to new opportunities and growth.
I love that. And we'll go right into Larisa, who is the head chick in charge, the president. So super excited about that. let us just feed us with your knowledge, Larisa. Lay it on
Yes.
us.
So I'm actually not the head in charge. I am the vice chair of the Women's Franchise Committee. I'm Robin Gagnon, who's like, such a superstar. she is the head gal in charge, but I love supporting her, and I'm still completely surprised and so grateful for the opportunity to help lead that group. Abby's a member on our committee too, and it's such a strong group of women that are, as everyone has said here before, just willing to share, willing to bridge the gap, and willing to really challenge what's happening out there right now and take on the hard conversations. And that's what I just love about that group is rock stars on steroids. I don't even know how to put it. It's just an amazing group of people. So thank you, Abby, for bringing it up. That was definitely one of my pieces of advice too, was to, from the women's aspect, get involved in the Women's Franchise Committee. There's so many opportunities. You can go visit more information about the committee on IFA's website. But taking it a step further back, just as we talk about, advice for really anybody, the two things that I always try to strive for from a leadership standpoint, one is to be a servant leader. I think that starts every which way possible that you lead, is if you have that mindset, like Kristen said, that you're there to serve, things will fall into place right from there. And things that you do from a servant standpoint, through education of your team, to your own leadership team, to innovation, communication and collaboration. I think all of those things bridge up into being a servant leader, but putting your brand, your franchise owners, your employees, and everybody at the heart of what you do just makes life more interesting and fun, and usually provides better results. The other thing that I will say specifically for just anyone in general, find a mentor. Pay attention to leaders that you have or have had in the past, of things you like and things you don't like, and be honest with yourself about the type of leader that you want to be, and stay true to that. Study the best in franchising. Clearly, many of them are on this call today, but there's so many more out there too, and everyone's just so willing to, hold your hand and walk with you. Find those people and study them and become the leader that you want to be. And obviously connection and growth are key too. But the one real quick thing, if I can share back to specifically women, because I know we were asking this question with regards to that. I don't know if everybody's old enough on this call. I think everybody is, but David Letterman used to do in his shows his top 10 lists, right? So a couple of years ago, I authored my own top 10 Letterwoman's tips for being a # boss lady. So if you don't mind, I'd like to just share them here really quickly.
Please
and
do.
I think that
Please do.
many of them sum up a lot of what we talked about too, and I have to do it like him, right? So, okay. Number 10, become self-aware of learned bias, understand what you know and what you don't know, and continue to educate yourself on the things that you don't to become a better leader. Aim for assertive, not aggressive. I think as women, unfortunately, sometimes we get labeled that way, and we're really just trying to be passionate about something that we're striving for and moving forward for the betterment of our brand, our team, and the world in general. So just think about sometimes your balance of, being assertive versus aggressive. Number 8, stop saying sorry. Why are you sorry? You're trying to move the business forward. You're trying to help your franchise owners. You're, trying to be a part of a team. There's no reason to apologize. You're here for a reason. You're respected. Cut it with the sorry. Number 7, learn to say no. I can give advice really well, but I'll be honest with you, sometimes I don't know how to do that yet either. So learn to say no when something isn't right for you as a leader for your company. And if people don't agree with you, be able to give data and results and back your reasoning up as to why you said no. Number 6, cultivate your emotional IQ. Continue to understand how empathy now in our culture more than ever really makes that connection with your team. with your entire brand, with your franchise owners. Understand what makes somebody tick and drive forward from there. Number 5, contribute through competence and caring to earn status. So again, using that emotional IQ, using what you know, that's going to get you farther than anything else will. Number 4, lead with logic. I think we've all talked about on here before. We're very passionate about our brands and about our businesses. And I think utilizing that thought process will drive you forward too. Number 3, find your people. We've said that and how to do that. Number 2, educate for change and mentor up and coming rock stars. We all got here through somebody else, helping us and forging us forward and opening the elevator door. So it's time for you to take that same elevator and bring people up as well. And number 1, hashtag just own it. Just own being you and do it the way, like we said on this call, there's no wrong or right way. But if you're passionate about what you're doing and you believe it within your heart, everybody else will see it too. So thank you.
I love that. I am going to get that in an email and put it in my office. And also hashtag just own it. I feel like that should be the IFA's next hashtag, like own a franchise, own your position,
Right,
own it.
there you go.
Love it. Love it. And Christy, I apologize that you have to follow that. So start with your 100 list just to out her. No, just kidding.
Wow, yeah, that's a tough act to follow. I love that list. I also want that printed and posted everywhere. I'll just say a few things. I think these ladies covered, most of the things that I would have said as well. I couldn't agree more with all of the suggestions and comments and everything. I think Kristen alluded to this a little bit, earlier in the session, but imposter syndrome is something that we've all probably felt at one point in our careers, maybe, multiple points. I know I certainly have, and probably something that as women, we experience more frequently. And so, just making sure that you recognize it for what it is when you're feeling it and not letting that stop you because, you have a reason that you're in the room or that you were invited to, be a part of an organization or a panel or on a committee or in the position that you're in. So you deserve it, you earned it yourself. And so it's important that you just recognize that what you're feeling is imposter syndrome. We've all felt it, we've all been there, and you can definitely overcome it. And just go for it too. I think another thing that we tend to do as women is take opportunities that we're confident that we can be successful in, whereas men are maybe more likely to stretch and take on a position or a project that they're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna give it a try. But we can, take that same, that confidence and try something. So say yes to opportunities, say yes to things that scare you, because that's where the growth happens. And that's where you can find yourself, in a position that you never dreamed possible. So I would say that is what, I've had to contend with over the years of, getting outside of my comfort zone. I'm still doing it to this day and still trying to help others do the same thing.
I love that. And clearly all of these women are much more professional and well-spoken than me. I just say, I'm going to fake it to make it. If I fail, then I told you so. But if I do well, then it's, I faked it well. So I absolutely love that. I think it's very true. I mean, saying yes when you can, saying no when you should, and surrounding yourself with, people that are continuously going to push you forward. I know this question wasn't on the slide deck, but I am going to ask you guys on the fly. And I think Larisa and Christy, you've already answered these in my podcast, but these are, I think, important for our attendees to hear from you. So Kristen, we'll start with you. If you could give one piece of advice to a franchisor, what would it be? And if you could give one piece of advice to a franchisee, what would that be?
Franchisor is going to be, don't grow too quick, for sure. Don't grow too quick. You need to make sure that your franchisees are happy and profitable. And that's really hard to make sure of if you keep collecting checks over here to grow your franchise. And there's things happening over here that are impacting your franchisees' happiness and profitability, eventually it's going to catch up to you. And what's going to happen is you're going to have a whole slew of people who are pretty mad at you. And because of that, you're not going to be able to sell more franchises. Happy franchisees sell more franchises. Put those franchisees in your system first. For incoming franchisees, again, it's all about mindset. If you believe that you can do it, if you believe you're going to get into the game and know that you're going to win that game, it means you will do everything in your power to win that game. So you need to make sure, as a franchisor, when you are evaluating whether a franchisee should join your family or not, you need to make sure that their head's in the right place and that they truly believe that they can be successful, because if they believe it, they'll make it happen.
Love that. Short and to the point. And please listen to that, because it's true. Happy franchisees are going to make your life and everyone else's life much easier. Abby, what about you?
Those were great. I loved it. For franchisees coming in, obviously in franchising, we have processes for a reason, proven business models for a reason. So when you come in, follow those processes that the headquarters team have outlined for you. They're thoughtful, they're designed to, help you grow in a very, cognizant way. Also the resources that, that Zor is spending on those processes and the people to support those processes is so important. And going outside of those is, wasting time, money, and resources. Obviously those processes might change over time and you'll have to adapt with them as well. But so important that, you bought into a franchise for a reason, and it's to follow that proven business model. And, things will change over time, but coming in, knowing that you can follow those systems and processes, and you'll, having the right mindset, as Kristen mentioned, to do that, it will set you up for success. For franchisors, I know we just talked about happy franchisees, which is obviously the goal, but also franchisors have to get comfortable not pleasing everyone. And so you're never going to be able to make every single franchisee happy, and you've got to get comfortable with that. Change is uncomfortable. We go through a lot of change here at Unleashed Brands. It's thoughtful. It's designed for a reason. It's to make the business models better. It's to strengthen the system. It's to help, grow their AUVs, whatever it might be. But you have to get comfortable not pleasing everyone and making a decision and sticking to it and going forward with your strategy. Obviously, you can adjust along the way too, but you got to get comfortable living in that zone of not pleasing everyone while trying to, make your franchisees happy, but having a really thoughtful plan to grow and to, adopt new things for them. But knowing that along the way, you're going to have an unhappy franchisee that hopefully you can turn around and make a happy franchisee with results and team and things like that. But that would be my advice for franchisors.
I love that. And yeah, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm a people pleaser. So when someone's not happy, it will ruin my whole day, but working towards that's going to happen sometimes. And I think also, a good thing to note, and I've talked to my husband a lot about this because he's in the top tier of our franchises, where, make sure that whoever you're giving the home office or your attention to is someone that is going to produce. I think that all of us know about that bottom 10%, noisy, squeaky wheel people. And you're just spending so much money and resources trying to make them work, trying to make them happy. And while they do deserve some of that support, let's not, overextend on our resources for the people that are doing successful and should be rewarded with support and stuff that way, I think is also important. Larisa, what are your top 2 pieces of advice?
My first one from a franchisor standpoint would be to make sure that in addition to working on your business, especially at this level, you go back and work in your business too. It's really easy to start thinking about strategy and changes and then not really think about how it impacts whether you have freestanding retail locations or your service base, whatever the case may be, but make sure that you're working on and in to make sure that you make the best decisions. From a Z standpoint, I really couldn't agree with everybody else more. You purchase a franchise to understand and purchase part of those processes and proven business models. So anything that, your Zor is there because they want to see you succeed. And I think there's definitely the other thing to remember from a Z standpoint is that they also are small business owners and they do want to help to be a part of the innovation. So don't be afraid to give great ideas to your Zor as well. You just have to be able to balance it with priorities and prioritization too. And that's what the ZOR has to do. So patience is a virtue on both sides.
I love that. I love that. Also, that should be like tip number 11. Remember to be patient.
Right.
And I will put that one in my kids' rooms.
Right.
All right, Christy, what are your 2 top pieces?
A lot of awesome stuff has been said already, so I'll try to.
I know, poor Christy, 2 times. Just because your picture is at the
Steal
bottom.
my thunder, left and right. But for franchisors, I would say something that we've had to kind of correct over the years is we've, started off when we were merging, when we were young, providing a lot of exceptions to, the standard, or kind of letting the franchise owners drive, what they wanted to do. And we allowed things that were potentially a deviation from, what our ideal was, or that made it difficult to create, a marketing strategy or an operational program or something that, could be applied evenly across all locations. So I would say, try to rein in exceptions in order to make it easier for yourself. And as you grow, it's just going to help you scale more quickly and efficiently if you don't have to come up with 5 different versions of something, because people do things a little bit different everywhere. And then for franchisees, I would say, remember that we're all on the same team. We all want to be successful. Your success leads to success at the corporate office. So when we're putting out a new requirement or a new program or process, or switching up your tools or resources, we're doing it not to punish you, but to help you in the long term and help you be successful.
I love that. And before we move on to kind of our final slide and next steps and how you can connect, I will say a very quick and free way to connect franchisors and franchisees. When I was on the franchisor side, I just didn't get a good vibe from the community. I think we had introduced some new processes, and I said, okay, sent an email community-wide and said, please tell me, some of your funniest stories that have come from being a franchisee. We're in maid cleaning. So I'm saying turtles in the tub. There is some questionable decor that is XXX rated that we cannot discuss on this call. So, and then, kind of share that out in the community. And that always brought a smile to people's faces. So just to Christy's point, remembering everyone's on the same team, from dogs to cars to kids, all the way to, I'm sure you've seen some stuff, Kristen, in your industry. Remember that, we're all human. We're all in this together. And that's, a fun way to bring some people back into the community. So moving forward, Promo Republic, their next webinar will be highlights and key learnings from the Franchise Consumer Conference that is happening at the end of June. I believe Larisa and I will be there. Kristen, are you going to be there?
I have a discovery day.
Oh,
so I will not be.
Is out here selling. I'm pretty sure Abby is a discovery day. Are you going, or someone from your team going?
Yeah, our CMO, Jessica Carrera, will be there representing Unleashed Brands, but I will not be there.
Oh, God.
And Nancy
Abby.
Bigley from the Little Gym will be there as well.
Gotta love Nancy. She's huge in the space. And then Christy, will Camp Bow Wow be there?
I will not be, but a couple of members from operations and marketing will be there.
Perfect. So yeah, seek us out. We'll probably be the ones talking the most, and definitely tune in to learn from, don't have to pay for the conference. You can just learn about what we learned for free. So you can sign up right there. And then lastly, now is the chance. Any Q&A can come in right through the chat. And then also here where you can take a picture on your phone and connect with all of us on LinkedIn. I know absolutely every one of us is active on here, and we'd love to connect with you. So feel free to do that. I'll leave the screen up for a hot second. And again, thank you for all of the comments in the chat. We appreciate it. We appreciate everyone being on. And of course, if you have a question later, or you want an intro, or you want to learn more about the Women's Franchise Network, reach out to us via email or LinkedIn or a friend of a friend. We are always available, literally always. I'll be like, hey, Larisa, I'm going to need you to moderate a webinar tomorrow. And she's like, oh, Maddie.
Okay.
I was like, Abby, how about some wine on Friday? She's like, in.
Yes, please. Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We
Thanks,
don't have any
everyone.
questions, so we must have done a good job. And I'm sure we will see everyone again shortly. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.